The new live-action How to Train Your Dragon movie has hit theaters, and holy crap. I absolutely adore the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. I used to not, but then I rewatched them all together a couple of months ago, and I absolutely fell in love with everything about these movies. So it goes without saying that I was probably going into the live action movie with a fair bit higher expectations than most people will, but I mean it when I say I was astonished at how phenomenal this movie is. First of all, I'll start with the elephant in the room. Is it a shot-for-shot remake of the first movie? In some parts, yes. Do those scenes lend themselves better to a live-action format? Also, yes. Is it weird to see an animated movie adapted with little or no changes? Yes. But do the changes that are made have a significant impact on the story? I've heard some say no, but for me, that answer is yes. And that essentially sums up why I love this movie so much. Basically, I think this was kind of a perfect storm for me. I already loved the first movie, so that's a really good starting foundation, and the very slight problems that I have with the original are completely fixed with this extra runtime. I also generally think that, especially after seeing it, this story lends itself as a whole a lot better to live action. The reason for that is live action just seems to go harder and invoke harsher emotions, and with how action-packed and also emotion-heavy this movie already is, converting it to live action genuinely just perfected it even more. The action does feel much more real, especially during the test drive scene, which they mastered about as well as they could have, as when Hiccup and Toothless are soaring at insane speeds and dropping too, you feel like you're on a roller coaster with them. Like I literally felt my stomach drop multiple times. That sort of depth of field and sense of height and scale just isn't really possible to put to animation, especially in 2010. So while I think that the original is dang near perfect in its own right, this live action version just takes everything great about it and cranks it up to 11. And for the emotional part, I think that the only real thing that needs to be mentioned here is John Powell's score. This is already one of my favorite scores of all time. Like, I honestly listen to Test Drive probably once a week, but all of the other pieces of the soundtrack are amazing as well, and I listen to them on the regular too. All that to say, since the action and scale are cranked up, the music is too. It hits harder, it's louder. Like, I beg you, genuinely beg you to watch this in IMAX like I did, with a bigger screen and louder speakers. Every single action scene, including Test Drive, is filmed in IMAX, and it is about as immersive of a theater experience as I have ever had. But none of that will be possible if the story, cast, and creative team did not masterfully execute this movie, and that is exactly what they did. I just want to start with Mason Thames and Nico Parker as Hiccup and Astrid. I'm just going to say it, I think these are some of the most perfectly cast characters I have ever seen. Thames is one of my favorite up-and-coming actors, and his chemistry with Parker is crazy good. Pair them with Gerard Butler reprising his role as Stoic perfectly, and Nick Frost as Gobber. I mean, there is not a better possible cast for this movie. All of them knock it out of the park. I cannot emphasize enough how great each one of them is in their respective roles, but together they make for one of the most entertaining ensembles I've seen in a while. Director Dean DeBlois, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm just going to call him Director Dean for the rest of this. But he is back after directing the entire animated trilogy, and he nails it. Honestly, any differences for a director that I can think of that transitioning from animated to live action creates, and there are a hefty amount, are handled beautifully by Dean. Like, I think somehow he managed to make this movie look better than the animated one, which is something I did not expect. During the scene where Hiccup and Astrid are riding Toothless for the first time, they fly way up in the sky and see the northern lights, and holy crap does that look unbelievable. I don't use the word breathtaking very much, but that's really the only word that I can think of to describe some of these landscapes around Berk. And that's another thing that this movie absolutely nails, the portrayal of Berk in live action. It comes to life in this movie in ways that it really just couldn't in the animated film. Again, I'm not saying that animation is really limited in what it's able to portray or do, but what I am saying is that there is a small, undeniable gap between the ceilings of animation and live action. It's just a fact that when they're at their best, and I mean their absolute best, live action has a slightly higher ceiling than animation in a lot of ways. Not in all ways, but in a lot. And for all of those possible marginal steps up and improvements, this new movie does them. In terms of the story, there's an extra 30 minutes added on here, and I do not feel that added runtime during the movie, but I see its impact at the end. What I mean by that is that there are natural extra developments of characters added in here, like Astrid is given a good bit more dialogue, and it allows the audience to grow just a little bit closer with her. Also, Hiccup and Stoic have just an extra 1 or 2 scenes together, which add just a little bit more depth to their relationship. All of these feel completely warranted and natural when they happen, and by the end, they really do have an impact on how satisfying the conclusion is. These changes are marginal, but they undoubtedly change the film for the better. The question I'm seeing floated around a lot around this movie is, was this movie really worth it to make? To me, I guess my question is, what makes any movie worth making? Aren't you just trying to make the best film you can in any case? Does that not make it worth it to know that they succeeded in making a phenomenal film? And you may be saying, but it's a remake of a movie we've already seen. Well, we haven't seen this movie. It's not a carbon copy, and it certainly isn't like other live-action remakes. If it were, and I want you to really think about this, if it were just a cash grab, would director Dean really come back to direct it? Would John Powell really come back to compose? Would Gerard Butler really come back to reprise his role as Stoic? No, they recognized there was something really special here to take advantage of, and that's exactly what they did. Heck, does it really scream cash grab for Dreamworks to have greenlit and announced a sequel months before they had any idea how much money the first movie would even be making? Not to me. I think everyone involved saw the potential in this, and in my eyes, that's all it is to me. We have a truly amazing new movie with an amazing cast, creative team, and in my eyes, that's worth it enough to me. Overall, if you're not seeing How to Train Your Dragon this weekend, then your weekend isn't going to be as good as it could be. This movie is not only amazing as a standalone, but it makes me appreciate the films that came before it even more. This is the best live-action adaptation of all time, and I don't see that changing until 2027 when the second movie comes out. My final score for How to Train Your Dragon is a 9.5. I know that sounds insane, and that is definitely the highest score I've given all year, and that makes it my current number one in the year 2025, followed by Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning and Sinners, and I will update you whenever this top 3 changes. But anyway, please keep in mind this is just my opinion, and I know for this one it's likely not the most popular, so I want to know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think this movie was worth making? What did you like? What did you not like about the live action How to Train Your Dragon? With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and God bless.